So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Hey, thanks for watching our live stream. I'm the host, David Krayden. In the meantime, have a look at some of these clips and take the opportunity, please, to like this broadcast, ring the bell, or subscribe.
And we're stepping up in every way we can because we know that Russia must win this war. That Ukraine must win this war.
But freedom is something you earn every day.
I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm David Krayden, broadcasting to you live from Ottawa this morning on this overcast Wednesday morning. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back in a minute. We've got a lot of news to go through. Thanks for watching. It's an exciting week ahead.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to...
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yeah, we'll do it live. Now, before I get to the Donald Trump, Mark Carney summit of yesterday, so I want to recapitulate what happened yesterday, because this was a historic day. And of course, this is a little bit of a view of what happened. Doesn't show you. I saw the largest scrum that I've seen in Ottawa since perhaps a major announcement on Parliament Hill. The courthouse yesterday for the sentencing of Tamara, Lich, and Chris Barber was 100% full. Standing room only, except you can't stand. So if you can't find a seat, the police will tell you to wait outside. 75% of the people in that courtroom yesterday were supporters of Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. And as I said yesterday, conditional sentences for both, what amounts to essentially a year of house arrest for both, with a lot of stipulations, and a curfew of 6 months for Chris after that, curfew of 3.5 months for Tamara after that, and both of them have to perform 100 hours of community service. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people say this is grievous, this is outrageous, and who has been saying from day one that this trial should never have happened? Tamara and Chris should never have been put on trial for this. And yes, I think they should have got an absolute discharge. But we live in a political reality today that is completely different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. This was a show trial from day one. And if you think that Tamara and Chris were going to walk out of there without any sort of further damage, not going to happen in the political climate today. And that is what I was trying to say yesterday. I think it could have been worse if we hadn't fought so hard. And I include myself in that. I got this news across the border. I think I probably wrote 40 to 50 stories in the last couple of years about this trial and about Tamara and about Chris. And I have been their ardent supporters. And for everybody who decided this was worth writing about, broadcasting about, I say thank you. And I know Chris and Tamara would be saying thank you. It was not exactly what we wanted, but I was so happy that neither Chris nor Tamara are going to have to spend a day in jail as a result of this. That really would have made me angry. Of course, lawyer Lawrence Greenspan, I got the first question in yesterday as he came out of the courthouse. And I got the last question in about, do you think Tamara Lich and by extension Chris Barber saved people's lives? Of course, he can't say that with any complete certainty. He doesn't have a scientific or a numerical chart in front of him saying, yes, she saved 10,000, maybe 100,000 lives by stopping the COVID mandates. But he could say she might have. I know she inspired thousands, tens of thousands of people, and she did. And that's the legacy. And the legacy of this cannot be chill to protest. Because if that's what the government achieved with this, then we are in for a hell of a ride. Because the government is going in the direction of tyranny, and we have to ensure that we continue to fight. Just like we're fighting right now for Katie Pesitne and her family and the ostriches. Because this is, again, an example of gross government overreach into private property, into the livelihood, into the possessions of farmers. This is all about globalism. It's about adherence to the United Nations rules, not Canadian rules. The CFIA has turned out to be a horrible organization of animal cruelty. We've seen that demonstrated. They should be charged. But more about that later. I just want to show, well, I have opportunity here. Sorry. Let me share the screen with you for a minute. And yeah, I encourage you to watch my broadcast last night where we had some, we had some actual original reporting on the scene, and it was completely suppressed by YouTube. And Katie posted this, I guess, late last night. And of course, Spirit was one of the casualties or fatalities of this government overreach. God, I pray and hope there's not more. Now, this is it, eh? Daddy, why are you helping sick people kill healthy ostriches? That's a great question, Katie. Let's listen to this.
Vet was not allowed to take blood, and let's go into the reason why. So the vet said that they said it doesn't matter if all of these animals, remember this, if every one of these animals tests negative, they're still to die. And the reason being is because of that international trade policy between the World Animal Health Organization and the World Health Organization, which takes the directives of the United Nations. Good morning, Tina. And then the minute that any animal has a positive test on a property for HPAI, avian influenza, all animals are to be destroyed. To protect our vet was not allowed to take blood, and let's go into the reason why. So the vet said that they said it doesn't matter if all of these animals, remember this, if every one of these animals tests negative, they're still to die. And the reason being is because of that international trade policy between the World Animal Health Organization and the World Health Organization.
Yeah, I think we're replaying that. So anyway, I invite you to read my story in the Post Millennial. I think we captured the essence and the spirit of that last day of a 2-year, 1 month long trial. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And by the way, I'll be on Redacted today, hopefully, if all goes well, because there's so much going on, to talk about the sentencing. And I'm going to give Katie a call just prior to going on the air to see if there's any updates on the farm. But I tell you, folks, if they can get through this week, I think they are going to win this. Because why? And I invite you to watch some of the wonderful material Katie's put up here. And it's really, really, really good. But here's Chris and Tamara.
Hi, everyone. Tamara and Chris live from Ottawa.
Yes.
Why are we here?
Why are we here? We might be going to jail tomorrow, actually.
We're going to do it this way so we don't have to say, we're just waiting for a few people to come on here.
That's right. You don't have to wait for a line.
We're here. We both did the 3,000 kilometer journey across, and we're here now, and we're waiting to hear our fate tomorrow morning in Ottawa court at 10 o'clock a.m.
So 10 o'clock tomorrow. And we really just wanted to come on and say thank you so much to all of you for all the support these last few years and being a part of this journey with us. And we'll see what happens tomorrow, I guess.
It is what it is. We've been on this path for the last few years. We're here joined with our family and our spouses, so they're just off camera watching right now, probably smiling and snickering. They won't join us on this, but hey, we're here, and we're all here because of people like you standing behind us, so it is what it is.
Thank you so much for the support, Canada. We couldn't have got this far without you, so thank you.
We're here, and we're here till the end, so regardless of what happens tomorrow, everybody, keep your composure. Peace is still
eye on the prize.
Eye on the prize.
Eye on the prize.
Thanks, everyone.
Love you.
Love you.
Yeah, some people didn't keep their composure yesterday. And here's Mr. Sunshine Baby. God, this it's incredible.
You got me. I just knew over there. Come on. What's going on? Sit down.
It's a circus here in Ottawa at Chris and Tamara's sentencing.
Yeah. It is a circus here, right? And it didn't end there. Of course, I was in the courtroom and I missed the fights. Okay, so but these were both apparently, you never know. It's not like you have an ID card with you saying, I am a supporter of Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. Apparently, these are both supporters. So what the hell were they fighting about? What does this say to people watching? That you're a bunch of yahoos? I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. And the same thing happened when Tamara came out of the courtroom later in the day. We all patiently waited for her. She didn't want to talk to any media. I think she just said, I've had it. I want to get out of here. It's been 2 years and a month. I just want to go and get away from the courtroom. And she had been through all the rigmarole that happens after you've been sentenced. And she sat down and it was about 2 hours. So I think she was physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, and she just wanted to go. But people crowded around the SUV or the van she was trying to get into. And were demanding she do an interview, demanding she comment. And one of the women was standing next to me. I was staying back saying, this is idiocy. Leave that woman alone. She's been through enough. We talked to her. I've interviewed her many, many times. Leave her alone. Let her get in the car and go. And one of the women said to me, she said to the group that was harassing her as she tried to get into the car, she said, what do you think you are, a bunch of paparazzi? And I thought, yeah, that's exactly how they behave. And it was outrageous. I'm not going to name any names. You know who you were. And it was absolutely ridiculous. However, folk, so yesterday, Donald Trump, U.S. President Donald Trump, as we have to say in the old Canadian press style guide, because he's not our president, U.S. President Donald Trump sat down with Prime Minister Mark Carney. I hope during their conversation after this news conference, Donald Trump mentioned the ostriches. I have a feeling it came up, maybe obliquely, maybe briefly, but I have a feeling it came up because I know the bug has been put in his ear by several of his close confidants and people in his cabinet, including Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has twice intervened in this case. Well, our own health minister, our own ag minister, have said absolutely nothing except let the CFIA do its work, do its dirty, bloody work. That's all we've gotten out of our own health minister and our own ag minister. So let's play some clips from this. And I don't know where to begin, but you remember Mark Carney during the election campaign about, he was going to get tough with Donald Trump. The United States and Donald Trump were an existential threat to Canada. He was going to be standing up to Donald Trump. And every time he sits next to Donald Trump, he not only looks like a ventriloquist dummy because he's so overpowered, so overshadowed, so under tall, compared to Donald Trump, but all he can do is just tell Donald Trump how wonderful he is. And is there a problem here, folks? No, not at all.
Moving back, they're moving back. We have, right now, I was just telling Mark, we have 17 trillion, but it's really much higher. That was as of a couple of months ago. Yeah. We have over $17 trillion being invested now in the United States. As an example, Biden, he was the worst president we've ever had, but they had less than 1 trillion in 4 years. We have more than 17 trillion in 8 months. 8 months. And I think that number is going to be $22 trillion. There's never been anything like that in the history of the world for any country, not even close. If you did 1 trillion in a year, that's pretty good. We're going to do over 20. And it's coming in with AI. It's coming in with auto plants. We're building auto plants, a lot of auto plants in the U.S. It's coming in for a lot of reasons. It's coming in because of the fact, I think the November 5th election was a big factor, and I think the tariffs are a big factor. And again, we want Canada to do great, but there's a point at which we also want the same business. We're competing for the same business. That's the problem. That's why I keep mentioning one way to solve that problem is a very easy way. But we're competing for the same business. Competing for the same business. We're working on.
We are.
And he was the worst president we've ever had. But.
We are the largest foreign investor in the United States. $500 billion in the last 5 years alone, probably $8 trillion in the next 5 years if we get the agreement that we expect to get.
All right. Are you catching this? He's going to, if Mark Carney is in any way accurate, if he can count, remember this guy used to be an international banker. That would mean like roughly 85% of revenue created by Canada will be going to the United States. Does he even realize what he's saying? Or does he care? This is all a charade, folks. You know it is. Mark Carney used Donald Trump to get elected. Donald Trump was quite happy to see Mark Carney elected because he can walk all over him. He's a pushover. And I think the two of them have known each other for a long, long time. I think Donald Trump probably has the goods on Mark Carney.
The hyperventilating in the world will not change the fact that the Prime Minister casually said in the Oval Office today, he bragged that $500 billion Canadian investment dollars have left for the States in the last 5 years, and then promised that $1 trillion more will leave in the next 5 years. That'll mean mines closing in Quebec and opening in Pennsylvania. It'll mean mills closing in BC and opening in Washington State, factories closing in Ontario and going to Michigan.
You kindly host.
Pause it for a sec here. So that's exactly what I've been saying. He is promising the huge majority of revenue created by Canada is going to the United States, and he doesn't even seem to think there's an issue with that.
Me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president, and since then, the transformation in the economy. Unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace.
What happened to Donald Trump being an existential threat to Canada? Mark Carney just completely reverses. Mark Carney is transformational in that he will lie about something on Monday and tell you the exact opposite thing on Tuesday. That he has completely transformed his message. And people, it's like Canadians are so incredibly dense politically. There's no outrage over this at all from the people who voted for Mark Carney just because these were people who really hate the United States, who really hate Donald Trump, and they thought Mark Carney was going to be their savior. Well, tough, hey? Didn't work out that way, did it, folks? Do you think Pierre Poilievre would have been a tougher negotiator? It's hard. It would be hard not to be. even though Poilievre is a lot younger than Trump, a lot less experience on the international stage, I think Poilievre would have at least represented the country in a way that Mark Carney refuses to do.
From India, Pakistan, through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The
what
merger
created
of Canada
no,
and the
what
United
you have
States.
Yeah, he hasn't given up on that one.
There's still great love between the two countries. But you know what? If I let this go, if we didn't win this election, if we had these people that were running, that were ruining our country, destroying our country with their open borders and men playing in women's sports and transgender from everybody and windmills all over the place, if we allowed that to go on for another couple.
Okay, that's so funny. Donald Trump is lecturing Mark Carney on the issues he values the most: green energy and transgender ideology. He's very close to transgender ideology through his daughter. Is that the right designation? I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. I don't want to go to jail for that. But he's close to these issues, and he sits there with a straight face. It's almost tabula rasa. In other words, displaying or betraying no emotion, while Donald Trump completely rips apart Mark Carney's foundational beliefs. So it's so funny.
Couple of years, we would be. I'm not sure that we'd even have a country. We also have great policy. We have strong borders. We have no men in women's sports. Basic things. We're not going to take your child away and change the sex of your child. We're not going to do things like that. What they're doing to the country is so incredible. And they got away with it with all their woke crap, and now it's stopped. And we have a country that's based on common sense and strength and intelligence. We have the United States of America, and I say it all the time. Other leaders have told me this. Mark hasn't yet, but I think he would. A year ago, we were a dead country, and now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. Maybe Canada. I'll give Canada, but because I do like.
Don't you wish we had a country that was based on some common sense principles like that? Don't you wish we did? We had a country that wasn't based on the 3 levels of death, which are unlimited, complete access to abortion, no limits, no parameters. It's abortion on demand whenever. That's what Canada has. We've got a euthanasia program, euphemistically entitled medical assistance in dying, which is killing tens of thousands of people. And the government wants to expand that program to the mentally ill and children. So we have a government that really does want to expand its euthanasia program, because it really is leading a cult of death. And yes, we have a country that rejoices in the mutilation of children. They call it gender affirming care, which of course is an absolute bastardization of the language. That's all I can say about that. And that is what Canada is all about. And Donald Trump nailed it home. And of course, Mark Carney sits there and takes it because he has to. I just hope Donald Trump mentioned the ostriches.
Everybody, it's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who I have made very popular. He's an extremely popular Prime Minister.
Okay, did you get that? Mark Carney's laughing. Look at that jovial exterior. Mark Carney says, yeah, Donald, you're right. I owe my election to you. You've made me very, very popular. And Donald Trump knows it. They both know it. And this is I'll just play a bit of this because it's painful to watch Mark Carney in the presence of Donald.
And I'm very honored to do it because I liked him right from the beginning. I've liked him, and we've had a good relationship. We have.
What do you suppose from the beginning means? Because it's not like Donald Trump ran into Mark Carney when he became leader of the Liberal Party and then prime minister automatically. They've known each other for a long time. They have a lot of business relationships in the past. Mark Carney was a banker. Mark Carney has been a businessman. Mark Carney has his hands in a lot of different pockets, on a lot of different levers. You've seen it. 103 different conflicts of interest. Canadians just seem to think that's natural these days. Nothing unusual about that. Isn't that normal for a prime minister? Actually, no. At one time, it would have made the prime minister ineligible to serve.
Some natural conflict, but we will probably work that out. But we've had a very strong relationship, and your hosting of the various countries that showed up, that was a beautiful job you did, and I appreciate it very much. We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We'll certainly be talking about Gaza. We're in very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years, you could say 500 years, you could say, but that it's been raging for a long time.
And Mark Carney, of course, is saying this news conference feels like it's been 500 years because it's painful to watch Mark Carney in the presence. Just a bit more. If you can stand it,
I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen. But there's a real chance that we could do something, so you may have some questions on that later. But in the meantime, we'll spend some time and we'll make some deals and we'll do some things that are good for both of our countries.
So Mark Carney came back empty-handed, as he always does. There was no deal made. He got a mouthful from Donald Trump about what's wrong with Canada. But maybe that'll do some good. I hope he got a mouthful about the ostriches too. I'll keep saying that, but I really do hope it's true. And that's where this country has come to. That's what I want to show you this, and I'll show you at the beginning because this demonstrates how the federal government has been using your CPP funds to so-called invest in electric vehicle plants. And we'll see a bit more because, well, let me show you the video first. And this, of course, is Tim Hodgson, one of Mark Carney's closest confidants, the closest ministers. Listen to him describe this company as being the epitome of the entrepreneurial spirit. And you're listening to this, and it's just like, if I can use a phrase from my childhood, gag me with a spoon.
Hi again, Mr. Hodgson. This is Leora Schertzer from the Montreal Gazette. For these battery plant investments, is the government taking steps to avoid repeating the failure of the Northvolt project? I know that was more the provincial government's jurisdiction.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. But you've allowed Hodgson room to escape. You gave him an escape bill.
But
yeah, we didn't invest in that, and I'm not going to comment on investments that the Quebec government made. Look, what I will say is in Canada,
all right,
we need to celebrate.
Let's pause it there, folks. We'll come back to this in a minute, and let's have a look at. Is he telling the truth? Canada pledges billions to Northvolt to build Quebec EV battery plant. Oh, and you know what that's about, right? It's just like the gun grab. It's about appeasing Quebec voters. So yeah, we'll give billions to an EV plant that's going to fail and that has gone out of business. And the Financial Post reported this. To help attract Northvolt, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government is matching subsidies available for U.S. manufacturing under Jurisdiction Reduction Act, or the Inflation Reduction Act. I can barely read this. So he lied. Hodgson is lying. And here's Tim Hodgson. Whether it's storing renewable power or fueling the next generation of vehicles, global battery demand is set to grow nearly 150-fold by 2050. Sounds good, doesn't it? I want us to meet that demand at home, and that's why today in Montreal I announced $22 million for 8 made-in-Canada battery projects from Nova Scotia to BC. Well, I thought you weren't investing in these things. Investing, you mean spending taxpayer dollars on stupid EV plants and absolutely failing schemes. By scaling high-performance design and by advancing next-gen materials, we're positioning Canada's workers and industries to lead the world's clean economy. Unfortunately for the Carney government, new vehicle sales are accelerating in Canada, but not for EVs. Data shows. This is from September 15th, 2025. So this is rather current. Let's have a look at this, though. CPP Investments invested $200 million in Northvolt in 2023 through a $1.2 billion convertible note. And the investment is now worthless following Northvolt's bankruptcy declaration in November 2024. Other Canadian investors, such as OMERS and the Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec, also had significant exposure to the company. The collapse of Northvolt is a major setback for Canada's EV battery ambitions and has resulted in significant financial losses for Canadian pension funds. They're using your pension funds to play the market. You do that in a private company and you get fired because you're improperly using the company money. Is this any different? Dear folk, is this any different? They are playing the market. They are so-called investing your money in a plant that failed, and they're using money that's not supposed to be used for that. It's supposed to be a Canada pension plan fund. Whoops. What happened? And the whole Canada pension plan, no wonder Alberta wants its own pension plan. And if it becomes an independent country, it will automatically have its own independent pension plan. But in the event it doesn't become an independent country, Albertans still want their own pension plan because Canada can't manage its pension. Let's watch a bit of this video that shows you why CPP is a bit of a Ponzi scheme. And it promises far less than it should be. It should be delivering a great deal more.
Why does it only work out that they're actually getting a nominal rate of return by 4%? And, I don't really go that much about the real rate of return because the real rate of return is basically calculated using a fake inflation number. So let's just go with the nominal rate of return for now. Okay. Trevor?
Yeah.
Any ideas? Any ideas? You want to guess why, if they get 8%, 9%, why is the retiree only going to get 4%?
Josh, I'm just too flabbergasted to even take a guess as to why the annualized earnings are only 4%. I'm sure it's going to really irritate me, but let's find out.
All right, here we go. Here we go. And this is the Office of the Financial Superintendent. This is the latest actuarial report. It's a big, long report. Okay. We're due for a new one at the end of the year. Probably 150 pages long. But all the values of CPP and all the diversity and equity and inclusion and all their goals and objectives, legalese, and go all the way down the 150 pages until you get to right at the end. Footnote 14. Footnote 14 is the reason they should just put this thing on. And it says, as at December 31st, 2021, under the closed group approach. So let me understand, let me tell you how they try to sell this to people. It's like they say it's the open group approach, because obviously we're going to get new people entering CPP who are going to pay into the program. So under the open approach, open's a good word, right? We should be able to use that. Open's a good word. We could just openly use the new participants' CPP contributions to pay the old participants, okay? But if you calculate it on a closed group approach, so what that means is if you calculated the net present value of the obligations that you have today and measured them against the assets you have today, the actuarial obligations of the base plan, this isn't according to me, this isn't according to the Fraser Institute, this is the Office of Financial Superintendent, okay, are equal to 1,686 billion. Okay, so 1,686 billion, 1.6 trillion. Okay, the actuarial obligations of the base plan are 1.6 trillion. The assets are 543 billion, and the asset shortfall is 1,142 billion.
There's no money in the fund. That's what it comes down to. I encourage you to watch that whole video. It's about 15 minutes long. It outlines how this is like a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme. And let's go back to Tim Hodgson. After what you saw about, we had nothing to do with the investments into this Northvolt, listen to Tim Hodgson. Try to make sense of this.
Entrepreneurs. We need to celebrate people who are trying to do new things and bringing who are trying to create entrepreneurs. We need to celebrate people.
We need to celebrate. Are you calling Northvolt entrepreneurs because they failed dismally, even though it was all subsidized? That's not entrepreneurial spirit. That's sucking the taxpayer dollars.
Who are trying to do new things and bringing new jobs. These people here are bootstrapping businesses. We heard the story of somebody who came here with nothing in their pocket, probably mortgaged whatever they had. Sometimes those things fail. That's part of business. I mean, I'm a business person. But, that's part of business. When somebody fails, we shouldn't look down on them. We should say, good for you for trying. Let's help you get back up and get on again. And this time you're going to be a success. And so, look, the tone of the question was, there's something wrong with investing in a company. Some companies aren't going to make it. We need to support our entrepreneurial spirit. We need to support new ventures. That's what creates the businesses of the future. Every one of the people in this room are going to get there because we step up and help them. And I know the federal government will keep doing that. I won't speak for the Quebec government, but I hope they keep doing it as well.
Okay, I'll get back to this in a sec. What is the federal government going to do? Keep giving your money away to failing businesses. This is not the entrepreneurial spirit to say that, all right, we're going to take a chance, but subsidize us. Give us taxpayer money, and then we'll do it. And then we might fail. And all the money goes with it.
Of course, electricity or electric projects are new territory, and there will be bumps in the road. But even thinking of like the Lion Electric bus recall with one of the buses bursting into flames, just with electricity projects, there seems to be more steps that need to be taken to kind of mitigate some of these bumps. I guess I'm wondering if there's any concrete plans or any changes to past electricity project investments or any sort of extra oversight that can be taken?
Again, that was not an investment that I'm not going to critique other people's investments. What
He's lying. That was a federal government investment. Your liberal government. Might have been Justin Trudeau at the time, but it was a liberal regime.
is when you invest in new businesses and new products, we have approval processes, we have safety regimes, we will put them through them from a federal government perspective as our entrepreneurial leaders over here who are basically going out, creating companies, creating jobs for engineers, creating good paying jobs and creating new technologies. There will be challenges with products. They will get feedback from regulators. They will adjust their products. They will make them better. We should celebrate that.
Thanks so much.
I can't stand listening to these people. They're so sanctimonious about how they waste your dollars, how they give them away to companies that are just sucking us dry. And Quebec is sucking Alberta dry, by the way. And I couldn't resist that. We'll be back in a minute after this brief mention of our merchandise in the store. Yeah, thank you for your patronage. Thanks just for looking at the store. I wanted to show, as we went out here, a clip that I showed yesterday, and which was unfortunately a lot of folks didn't see last night because my broadcast about the sentencing of the Freedom Convoy was completely stamped out. Let's listen to Lawrence Greenspan.
Thousands, if not tens of thousands, but we received letters of support from hundreds of people. We've received messages. Tamara has received messages. So this was one of those rare cases where I was able to say to the judge, there were some very positive things that happened as a result of this, what was found to be an offense. And the positive is that there are a lot of people who were inspired by Tamara's example, a lot of people who were lifted up and given hope by what she did.
Are you satisfied with the verdict or the sentencing today, sir?
Yes, the main objective was to make sure she didn't spend one more day in jail, and that was achieved. And so yes, in that sense, we are still very seriously considering an appeal of the conviction for mischief, but as far as the sentence goes, we're pleased that she is not going to be spending any more time in jail.
I think there's a double standard with how the truckers are being treated with jailing, prosecution, enormous resources compared to the pro-Hamas protests that blocked routes in Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, and elsewhere. Is there a double standard on the streets?
I think that this case on its own demonstrates the conflict between freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, and as contrasted with some of the other protests that you're referring to, the pro-Palestinian protest, there's definitely a different way that those are being treated as opposed to the way that this peaceful assembly and freedom of expression was treated in this courtroom.
Just wanted to show you a little bit of that. You can watch the whole interview or the whole news conference, the scrum, actually, it was a scrum, on last night's broadcast, which we put together on this. So as I said anticipate being on Redacted today to talk about what happened yesterday in the sentencing. And we'll be getting an update from Katie at the Universal Ostrich Farms at some point today. We'll be talking or texting each other as we do every day, and we'll see what happens. It's every day is incredibly tense at this farm because they don't know if they're going to get word that the Supreme Court is coming down for or against the appeal. The CFIA continues to mistreat the animals, continues to prepare for a slaughter, and Katie and her mom are not allowed any interaction with the birds. The CFI has complete control. And as I shared with you the other day, the Supreme Court talked about the CFIA having custody of these animals. And custody implies, at the very least, you look after what you're in custody, what you have in your custody. If you have custody of your children, you're supposed to be looking after them and not mistreating them. So there's a huge disconnect here, and we'll continue to watch this drama as it unfolds. Keep Katie and her family in your thoughts and prayers, and continue to tell the CFIA and the Minister of Health, Heath MacDonald, that this is unacceptable. Don't harass them. Don't be rude. Don't do anything that would in any way imperil the farm and what it's doing, standing for goodness and righteousness. Don't do anything in a mean or inflammatory spirit, but be constructive and tell these people this is not right. At the very least, test these ostriches, because you have no reason not to. And you know, when a government refuses to do something, they've got an ulterior motive. And clearly, the Carney government has an ulterior motive here. Thanks for watching the broadcast today. I will be on the Conservative Corner tonight with Nico. We've missed the last 2 weeks. My fault both times. But we'll be on tonight. And I want to thank you for watching that. And I'll be back again tomorrow with more Stand on Guard, as so many events continue to unfold before us. Bye for now. This has been David Krayden broadcasting to you live from our nation's capital in Ottawa.